Marcario.
Hi, and I just want to say, oh my gosh, I'm up here in front of this amazing room of creatives, and I'm experiencing the results right now of my commitment to my own vision and dream. You're part of it, and you don't even know. You didn't even know that you were part of my vision. So thank you for being here and for giving me an opportunity to just share my journey with you and my thoughts about commitment and where we get tripped up on that idea. Let's see, where are we? How does this work? There we go. Okay, yes. Today we're going to talk about commitment as avoidance versus commitment as engagement. I just wanted to talk to you first about Thrive Law. Thrive Law is the manifestation of commitment as engagement. I came from a giant law firm. I was at one of the largest law firms in the world. However, prior to that, I had been a writer, an actress. I did a little bit of visual art. I was a super creative person. I hopped from job to job because I'd get bored after 2 years doing something, and I had mastered it and would move on. I ended up as the director of editorial services for PricewaterhouseCoopers for the US, and then went to law school. What am I doing? I'm this super creative person. I end up at one of the largest law firms in the world, and I am committed. I am so committed to it. I am the first one in and the last one out. Every single day. I am grinding, because that's what commitment is, right? Yeah, you get in there and you just do. Commitment, I'm committed. Well, guess what? While I was at that giant law firm, I looked back at my notes from law school in a journal. I had a journal, I'm a journaler. So I look at these notes from law school and I see this journal entry where I say, someday I'm going to have my own law firm that doubles as an art gallery. What is that? and where did that come from? And why was I so far off track from that? If that was an idea that came from my heart, it was in the personal journal, there it is. What's going on? What am I doing? I'm in a marble floored, everyone's dressed to the nines, everyone's driving, Range Rovers and Mercedes Benzes, and that, not that there's anything wrong with that. I want a nice car, I want nice stuff. But they're divorced, they're miserable, they hate their job, they talk to the paralegals like they're trash. And I thought, these are not my people. I don't belong here. And I saw the journal entry and I said, I need to recommit to that. That's who I am. The person that wrote in the journal, I'm going to have a law firm that doubles as an art gallery and further serves creatives, is the person who I needed to manifest. And so I needed to commit to that. So hence the mission of Thrive Law came into being. So I'm very inspired by Maya Angelou, and she has this quote, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." That is our mission at Thrive Law. The idea is to help businesses and creatives thrive truly, and not to merely survive, not to just struggle as an artist, to actually do the things that they need to do, help you commit to your own vision of what it is that you want and what's success for you. So, how many of you know that if you are going to thrive, you've got to commit? How many agree? Thriving equals commitment. Okay. So this is kind of, I love these like easy pieces. This is a formula, man. You can do this. Decide, commit, succeed. It's easy, right? It's so simple that we can just put it on this one slide. That's commitment right there. So we all think this, and we all think we're committed. We're doing. And so how come often we're not really thriving? We feel overwhelmed. We feel like our work is our baby that we have to take care of 24/7, and it's not working for us. We're taking care of it. Why is that? And I think it's because when we think about the word commitment, and when we decide we're going to commit to something, we get distracted by that, by things that we commit to without thinking through them. So, when we think of the word commit, we have visions of, athletes just pummeling through things, or, the law firm associate grinding away at the office till all hours, or, a writer sitting up all night smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee and typing the novel or the blog post or the whatever. You're just go, 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 do. And we've all done this. We have decided that what commitment means is I'm gonna make goals. I am gonna write down my goals in this journal, and then I'm gonna commit to them, and they're gonna happen. But then they don't. What happens? What goes wrong? So let's just look at the word commitment, and I want to just look at these definitions of the word commitment. One, a commitment is a pledge. So the company's commitment to quality. And then the synonyms for this are dedication, devotion, allegiance, loyalty, faithfulness, fidelity. When I was at the big firm and I was grinding away, I had made a pledge to them, right? A pledge that I was going to be committed to do amazing work at this firm. But I can tell you one thing, I did not feel fidelity. I did not feel loyal. So was that commitment? I don't know. A pledge or an undertaking. I cannot make such a commitment at the moment. So I can't do that right now. I'm making a promise to you, yes or no. And then thirdly, an engagement or an obligation that restricts freedom of action. So and the synonyms for this are responsibility, obligation, duty, tie, liability. That's a good word for a lawyer. Task, engagement, or arrangement. Engagement. But not the kind of engagement we mean. We want this kind of engagement up here. So the difference in commitment is whether or not you are devoted to something versus you feel obligated to it. And these types of pledges where you're just making a promise to do something determine whether the commitment that you're living in your life is a commitment to the life that you dreamed of and are engaging with your own dream, or are you engaged in commitments that are defined for you by other people, by someone else's dream. So what I came to the conclusion of is that I was living someone else's life, and my commitments did not fill me up. I could not be devoted to my commitments. I skirted my commitments. I would commit to things and then dream up ways to get out of them. But a committed person says yes to everything, right? And that's what I had done. So that was the life I built. So commitment is this shiny word that has a dark side. And we really need to think about the dark side of commitment. In order to avoid commitment as avoidance, where we hide out, we commit to everything, and so we sabotage ourselves from actually doing the things that drive our own vision and our own dream forward. We get caught up in saying yes to whatever's shiny in the moment, and we forget what's shiny in our heart. And you need to stay focused on what's shiny in your heart first. So the key to to commitment as engagement versus avoidance are three things: clarity, integrity, and self-trust. So those are the things we're going to talk about a little bit. Clarity first. Clarity means what is the thing that your heart longs for. If you don't know what that is, it is very well worth it to take some really serious time and analyze that question. What does my heart want? And then actually understanding why. What it is that you want and why. So get clear on your own values, on your very core longings before you can do this. And then Then we look to building integrity and self-trust. Integrity and self-trust are the building blocks of a big life. You cannot have the big life that you want, whatever your creative endeavor is, whatever your personal endeavors are, you can't do them without building self-trust and having integrity. So the biggest life-changing habit that I have had is had to work on in my life to get to where I am now is the habit of doing what I say I was going to do for myself. So keeping my commitments to myself and not getting caught up in other people's commitments. So I want you to think about this. When you make any commitment, whatever it is, whatever commitment it is, we want to get clear about the significance of what the commitment is and what happens to you when you keep it and when you break it. So it's like a stitch in your quilt, in your life quilt. When you make a commitment, you're setting it out there, and you are saying, this is my desired outcome. Okay, I'm making a commitment to this, and your commitment is your declaration of your intention that outcome is going to happen. You have a goal in mind, you commit to it. Your commitment is the thing that says, I'm going to do this. And then when you make a commitment, either to yourself or to someone else, you are in essence forming a union with your highest self when you make a commitment to yourself, or forming a union with another person if you're committing to them. Even if I'm gonna, I'll pick up potato chips on the way home. Whatever. Who does that? Anyway, but understand that that's what you're doing, and so anytime you say you're going to do something, you're making a commitment, and seeing the commitment through is a matter of integrity. So the thing is, you don't want to make commitments that you're not really committed to following through on, or that you're half-assing. Don't do that. When you honor your commitments to yourself and others, you increase the power of your word as an expression of truth and a tool for creating whatever it is you want. But when we break our commitments, the stitch in our life quilt is ripped, and the strength of our word is weakened, and we can destroy the fabric of our relationships with other people. And sometimes that's what we want to do. I don't know. So break those commitments quickly and rip that off. But what if you have a habit of saying yes to everything and then breaking commitments? Or how many of you have ever had someone say, "Hey, let's get together sometime," and you went, "Yeah, yeah," and went, "I don't mean that at all." So why'd you say it? Why do we do it? Why do we say it? That type of, you made a commitment in saying, "Yeah, we'll get together." You made a commitment, and you know you're not going to follow through. And you know what that does? Erodes your own self-trust. You don't believe yourself. You don't believe what you say. So every time we do something and we don't do it, we lose trust in ourselves. And when we follow up on what we say we're going to do, we build self-trust. And when we have self-trust, our fears melt away, and we feel like we can explore the limits of our creativity. But self-trust has to be built and maintained. If it's broken, you have to build it back up in your life. And how do you do that? You do it by backing up the words that you say with actions that show that you mean them. Speak kindly about yourself to yourself and others, and do what you say you're going to do. Follow through. So, question, I just want you to think about this for a second. When you make a goal, do you trust that you're going to do whatever it takes to get that thing done? Honestly, sit with it for a second. Or Do you unconsciously think, I don't know if I'm going to do that. I hope I do. But your own lifetime of broken commitments to yourself makes you question that. And so your goals aren't really goals, they're sort of hopes because you don't trust you. I want you to think this through. The reason that you need to clarify the significance of the commitments that you make and define what they are is that you matter. You have a special brand of genius that no one else has. No one else has your gift, no one else has your voice, no one else has your perspective. The world needs you, and you matter. So the commitments that you make and that you choose to make matter. The world does not care if you believe that your commitments matter. The world cares that you act like your commitments matter. That's what plows us forward and gets us going. And when you show up fully by committing to only the things that you know you really intend to fulfill in order to get where you're going, to fulfill your heart's dream, you're really not going to make half-assed promises here and there, and you really commit, the world starts showing up differently for you because the world sees you differently. It here I am standing in front of a group of amazing creatives. This is something I really wanted, but I had to really say no to a lot of other things and say no to my own voices that say you can't build a law firm that serves creatives. You can't have an art gallery in your firm. That's not going to happen. That's crazy. So, if you serially break commitments to yourself, it looks like it doesn't have a big impact. No one else is affected but you, right? Not really. While the material consequences of breaking commitments isn't huge, the psychological consequences are. You learn that you're not able to count on yourself. And you'll find that if you are someone who has broken his or her agreements to himself over a long period of time, you probably are giving up your big dream and saying, yeah, that's not realistic. And you do realistic, so you assess your goals on whether they're realistic. Is that a realistic goal instead of just going wild ass out there with your goal, right? So in order to reestablish your trust in yourself and act with integrity towards yourself and the universe, it's really important to become conscious of the agreements that you're making, the commitments that you make on a daily basis, that you really notice. If you had a passing thought that you were going to, repaint the bathroom, was that a commitment? He was like, I really want to repaint the bathroom. Is that a commitment? Do you need to promise that to yourself? Is that something you need to follow through on? I'm going to write a novel. I want to write a novel. I want to start a blog. I want to have a gallery show. And then, did you write it down? Did you mean it? Are those commitments? Be aware of them and be conscious. Write down if you need to kind of become conscious of how often you're making what I call throwaway agreements, where you made a commitment to yourself or someone else, but you didn't mean it, and you know you didn't. Stop yourself by writing them all down every single day, all the commitments that you made, and you'll find that you're making them and breaking them as quickly as you make them. So, and then the next thing is to anticipate agreement. It's anticipated if you've made a commitment and you can't follow up on it, you're not going to be able to follow through. Try to anticipate that in advance. If you're going to not commit to, if you're not going to follow through on something, make sure that you let the person know as far in advance as possible. And if you're going to break a commitment to yourself and you anticipate that takes some self-work where you need to sit down and say, why am I doing this? Why am I breaking my commitment to myself? And if it's because you committed to a bunch of things that really aren't on the vision board, right? They're someone else's dream, then you need to question that and potentially not break your commitment to yourself, but do something in order to resolve getting out of commitments that really don't mean anything to you. Clean up broken agreements. So if you're going to break an agreement, take full responsibility for it. Don't make any excuses. Apologize and be sincere, and then take steps with yourself or another person to say, I'm going to rebuild my trust with you. Now, I'm sorry for breaking this agreement, but I'm going to rebuild trust. And again, this is something we need to do with ourselves. And then lastly, I encourage you to make fewer agreements, make fewer commitments that are not things that are pushing you forward on your goals. So, just got lost a second. Yeah. Oh, whoops. Where did we go? What happened? Oh. So, once you get clarity around the significance of your commitments, so one, you know that what you're doing is your life's work, and those are the only commitments you're making. Then your big question is this, from E.B. White. I get up every morning determined to both change the world and have one hell of a good time. Sometimes this makes planning my day difficult. Yeah. But if we get up every morning determined to change the world, and the commitments that we've made are in alignment with the vision of how we're going to change the world, if the things that are on your calendar today are all things that are pushing toward changing the world, you are going to have one hell of a good time. And I say to E.B. White, this makes planning my day easier, not harder. But if I have a bunch of commitments that don't align with my vision, then I believe him. This is what it looks like when your life is filled with commitments from other people that you're not really committed to. And one of the things I also want to point out here is, if you ever find yourself committing to things ambiguously, again, sort of the ambiguous thing, and you're not jazzed about your commitments, again, ask yourself come back to the heart question. Is this my heart's desire? Is this my heart's commitment? And if it is, and then we're going to experience commitment as engagement. Whoops. Wow, this little thing does not like me. Seriously. It likes her. Okay, yeah. When we find ourselves in the groove of actually having a calendar full of commitments that are in alignment with our vision for our lives, our big life that we want to live, we look more like this, not like the crazy sticky note lady. And then commitment is devotion. And what, we see these pictures of committed athletes, and it's discipline. Well, it is discipline, but it doesn't feel like discipline has a negative connotation. And all of a sudden, your life is going to feel like, I've got a dream and a life I'm devoted to. I'm devoted to something. And if you're devoted to it and you consistently come back to clarity around the significance of the commitments that you're making, and that you have integrity in following them through, then you can fully commit and not be afraid. There's no commitment phobia anymore, because you know what you're about. You know what you're about. And you know that the things that you've put on your calendar are yours, that are going to fulfill a big life, whatever that looks like to you. It's different for everyone. So with that, I just want to say, go live a big life today, and pause to see where your commitments are causing you to avoid the big life that you want to truly commit to. That's it.
Thank you for that. That was awesome. If you can describe briefly how you made the jump from working for somebody else to then working for yourself, and like what few thought processes or steps you took to make that commitment to yourself.
Well, first I avoided the commitment for a while. I will tell you that it was a process, and it was scary, and it's all about overcoming fear, which should have been a fourth point in this talk. I was committed to leaving and starting my own firm, and I was sort of doing the background work of figuring out what area of law I was going to practice, where I really wanted to focus my practice. I definitely knew I wanted to be in St. Pete because we lived here and I was driving to Tampa every day. But I had a hiccup the first time. I had a hiccup where I was ready to do it, and then I got offered a shiny office. I got a shiny object, and I went, "Oh, look, chicken! Look at the pretty penny." Okay, and I stayed in the big law firm for another year. After I'd already decided. So decide, commit, succeed. How about decide, commit, go, decide again, commit, decide, commit. That's really more what it looked like. But I had to really just get clear that this was going to be a risk, because I didn't know if I would be taking any clients with me. It was going to be a from scratch gig. I did have 2 clients that asked me to stay on some litigation matters, but I started out here in this building on the 4th floor, actually. So I left my giant law firm. The station house was being built at that time, and I had my very first office on the 4th floor of this building, and it was just me. And then it just started picking up, and it was word of mouth, and it was referrals, and then I sit on the board of Tampa Bay Businesses for Culture and the Arts, and I'm also on the board of the Warehouse Arts District, and that's just a recent thing. But leveraging my ties to the community was really helpful. But what was amazing was just the response that people had to a different kind of law firm. We charged, I knew I wanted to charge project-based fees instead of hourly billing. I knew I really wanted to focus on true creatives and entrepreneurs who wanted a big life and needed some help getting there. Because in another part of my life, when I had another business, I was a writer and editor, and I had to write in a company that did that. And I would probably still be doing that now if I had the advice that I have now. So it's not about having it all perfect. I tried to get it all perfect before I launched, and it was such a mess. The website wasn't ready. All we had were business cards. And don't wait to pull the trigger until it's all lined up perfectly. Go and take the leap. Do it, but not just doing things to do them. Do the things that you know you need to commit to, and don't put off putting yourself out there. So one of the things, I was nervous at first about going and finding the clients and saying, I'm Jamie Marcario, and I'm a lawyer who serves creatives. What is that? And I was terrified of that. But I had to do it. And so I had to keep showing up and showing up and showing up and saying, this is who I am and this is what I do. And that's what venturing out is about. It's not about having all of the right pieces in place. There's a time when you need to get all the pieces in place, or if you're gonna run a business, you have to. But at first, get out there and start doing it. Does that answer your question?
There's a small person down there.
Hi.
Hi.
What, I guess, would be the number one question that a lot of your clients come to you with, like, across the board? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a number one question, because everyone's different. I would say on the creative side of the house, one of the things that my clients struggle with is structuring an entity, like knowing how to do that and how to run the business of the business. And then the next thing is really contracts, which is also interesting that the topic is commitment, and that contracts sort of say, hey, here, we're going to define what our commitments are. Most of my small business clients that are in the early stages of their businesses do not have contracts and don't understand why they need one or when they need one. In intellectual property, they don't know that they can have licensing agreements so that, when that you can actually get your work to go further if you license it to other people, if it's visual work or whatever. So kind of learning how to use contracts to make money is one of the primary, not questions, but issues that I deal with our clients, is really how do I leverage these contracts to actually make and keep my money. So as a creative. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Any thoughts on writing contracts with your future self as a way of fostering commitment?
Oh, I
If
love
which
that
makes your heart
idea.
shine?
I think that's absolutely fabulous. Yeah, contracts with your future self is a great idea. Have I ever done that? No, but I love it, and I'm probably going to go do one right after this talk now, because I like that. I think writing a contract with your future self, committing to your future self, or having your future, here, I like this idea, have your future self write a letter to you right now saying, hey, this is what you got to do. Let's go do it,
What happens if you don't fulfill it? Can you sue yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a law review article.
Can you send your future self billable hours?
Oh my God. So a side note, there was at a firm that I know of, it was not a firm where I worked, but a firm that I know of, one of the associates was fired because he actually billed more hours than there were in the month. So, but they did fire him. So my profession went up a level when they fired him.